Something weird is happening in e-commerce. Gen Z thinks professionally shot videos are cringe. Beautiful websites with perfect design are tanking. And that expensive production value you invested in is actually hurting your conversions. To find out what's going on, I invited Kurt Elster, e-com and Shopify expert, onto the Data Beats Opinion podcast. We dug into these e-com trends and how AI is creating a trust crisis in online shopping and the counterintuitive strategies that actually work when everyone assumes that everything is fake. Let's start the show. Kurt, it's so awesome to have you here, and really excited to talk about all things Shopify with you, man.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. We've talked many times. I'm happy.
Yes.
I think I've recorded with you. No matter what, I'm happy to be back.
Yes, this is, I think, the second, maybe third that we've done on on our podcast together. I think it's the third time we've done a podcast together on my side, and the second time for Data Beats Opinion. I think you came on 6 years ago when we first did the relaunch of SegMetrics and all the Data Beats Opinion and all that stuff. I think you were one of the first people to come on.
Pre-pandemic.
I know, right? Crazy.
Things are, especially in e-commerce, it's different now.
Oh yeah. And if we want, we can get into some of the ups and downs during the pandemic of e-com, because that's when SegMetrics also really became working with e-com, because before then we were very much towards the coaches info products. And because of the pandemic and let's get into it. What was the giant shift with e-com during the pandemic? What happened?
Well, I think if you were an e-com merchant and you had a store going, pre-pandemic, and then you went into the pandemic, there was the scary period, and then suddenly it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Right? Everyone discovered and adopted e-commerce if they haven't already, if they had not already, which that's the really cool part about it being in that space during the pandemic. And now 5 years later, people are already starting to, have nostalgia or romanticize the pandemic. It's especially Gen Z, my teenagers will do this. They're like, oh, I missed the pandemic. I'm like, what are you talking about?
What do they miss? Is it that they don't see anyone and everything's delivered to their house?
Yeah, I don't know. It's talking to a teenager, you ask follow-up questions, and they're just like, no, I know. Everybody thinks what I think. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I followed up. But no, it was that adoption. I think really that was the big thing, was everybody adopted it. But coming out of it, there was a lull, I think, in e-commerce sales, where things kind of reverted back to the previous trend line. Whereas there was a slowdown, and now I think things have normalized post-pandemic. At the same time, everything's become harder, right? You attracted a lot of money and a lot of people into e-commerce at the time, so more competition, ad rates go up. And at the same time, people from shopping online so much and being online so much during the pandemic became much more sophisticated. Suddenly the average person knows what a dropshipper is, knows what a Shopify store is, right? If they're always online, they know those things. And so just the barrier to conversion, I think, became higher. People were less likely to make a purchase now, than they were in 2021.
Yeah, I kind of saw that as well, whereas you're exactly right. E-commerce as a sales channel went through the roof, but that brought a lot of things that kind of cut out the very bottom layer of that, right? So now you have all these people doing drop shipping. You have all these people doing order-made products and stuff on Shopify, and you have all these people running ads to these things that jacks up the ad prices, that creates more competition, and you really have to stand out a lot more. Now, a lot of those at the end of the pandemic did fold. We saw a lot of the kind of generic dropship e-commerce companies that were customers of ours end up folding because they were no longer able to keep going after that huge initial investment into the space. But you're right that I think the people that got good at it got much better at it, and it really knocked out that entire bottom layer of just general e-commerce side.
And now things have changed again because with AI, and not like generic AI, just generative AI tools, now you can create content more easily. So if you were like halfway decent before, right, now suddenly combined with generative tools, you have bumped yourself up to like a solid B plus, A minus. If you're able to use the tools to customize code, get things looking the way you want, really punch up content, that's where it excels. In product descriptions, about page, headlines. Oh my gosh, I'll give it a headline, be like, give me 10 versions of this. And pick the best
Split
one.
testing, yeah.
And then of course, now even images, which previously you could see those a mile away. Now I can give it a product photo, and generate an image that way. And especially like that's really useful for ads. Ads more than ever need so much creative to test, right? Like I was at a conference and they're like, yeah, you need 30 pieces of creative in Meta. I'm like, oh man, 30 pieces. But a lot of it, and they're like, they have to be totally different. They can't be just variations on each other. I'm like, that's tough. But using AI, some of these things you come up with these concepts. And I think the trick is to either make sure it does not look like AI or lean into it hard where it is very obviously and not hiding itself as an AI image.
Yeah. I think that's much harder with e-com and especially physical products as well, because there's so much of the AI generated physical product slop out there where it's like, this looks amazing, but that product photo is obviously AI. And it's like, okay, I'm going to get a bag with like something written in Sharpie on it or something like that. Right.
And you had that problem before where people would be like, okay, I'm going to order this, but off Temu, but what am I actually going to get? Right. Roll that die. I think that's where video becomes more important than ever. Because video, harder to generate, especially like a long normal video. When you see AI videos, they're short and they're wild.
They're short and they're cut a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus because it's difficult to generate big things with it. I think that more than ever, if you own a brand, I want like founder face to camera. Let me explain to you why I love this product kind of video on a product page, because that stuff is the hardest to fake. Like capital A authenticity should be the word of the year if you're an internet marketer.
It's interesting because I was reading an article and they were talking about authenticity in video and how jankiness is now the new authenticity, because with these AI tools and everything, you can polish everything to be just like everything else, and it comes with this quality and this authenticity out of the box. And so that quality is no longer authentic. And what's authentic is some janky thing of like, I'm in my backyard, or like I have weird angles of my product that AI is never going to generate and stuff like that to show that, no, this is a real thing and a real person, because AI would never do this. Exactly.
It's kind of, using my Gen Z oldest child as an example again. He did the Ice Bucket Challenge, less than a year ago. And he's like, oh, you got to film me. I'm like, okay. So I filmed with two phones. I'm like, give me your phone. And I had mine. And I like, one was slow-mo and one was normal. Just held them up. And then I edited that together as in it was two cuts just to add in the slow-mo. So you could like see this kid get hit with the ice bucket. He was horrified by this. He was like, what is this? He's like, just give me the regular video. And then on his stories, post the regular video and then post a still frame. It goes, and my parents made a like cinematic version. And if you want to see that, you have to DM me. But like, God forbid you actually upload that, because then you would get the most devastating insult. Try hard. You're a try hard. For millennials like us, a poser. You're a poser would be the translation.
I don't even have words. Like, it's a hard thing to change. It's a hard thing to have your entire 40 plus years of like, this is how you build quality. This is how you present yourself as a real thing that exists. And I'm not a poser, and I'm not like
a try hard
selling I'm not selling scam stuff to you, right?
Yes.
And now that is the face of scam stuff. And that's mind blowing to me. And it's tough.
And there's so much context to it. Like, what's the offer? Who's it for? I think that's really is what's going to make the difference here. But it's just, it's something to be aware of and keep in mind that there are all levels of quality could work in an ad depending on what you're doing.
So do you find when people are working on these different levels of quality and this different types of authenticity that stores choose one type because that's their target audience? Or are they trying to go after more of a 4-quadrant? Okay, I have my jank ads, I have my non-jank ads, I have my, let's say, boomer ads, millennial ads, Gen Z ads. Like, is it people trying to focus on one channel? Is it too hard to do because then you have to work on the site as well? Like, what do you generally see when people are trying to build authenticity?
So I think the site itself is probably going to be a reflection of the founder. It's probably going to have like one tone or look to it. And I think the worst position you could be in, where I see sites really struggle, is beautiful but shallow. If like the site is perfect and polished and wonderful, and I have zero complaints about it, but there's not a ton of content, there's very little video content, that's what I call a thin content site. Often that's a new site is just going to be like that naturally. Those are going to be the toughest to get to perform. And I find that interesting, right? It's like, oh, it looks really good. And we've removed all these distractions because we don't have all this extra content. And then like you struggle to sell and you have this like brutal ROAS. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah. The really sophisticated advertisers, entrepreneurs will do this within their Facebook ads. Because I think naturally you're going to attract customers that look like you. Whether you want it or not, it's just going to happen. Especially like especially if you're showing yourself in the videos and it's like your tone of voice, you are just naturally going to attract people that look like you. You are holding up a mirror, essentially unknowingly. And so eventually, like let's say you do get success with an ad that like founder face to camera ad, you get success and you're just pumping money into it, scale it. Why not? Well, eventually you'll exhaust that audience. So what Meta wants you to do to reach the next audience is radically different ads, creative diversity. And when they say creative diversity, I mean, they literally mean like, hey, just give me that ad and have it look like someone else. Just someone who does not look like you at all.
Right.
And then try it in like completely different formats. Not just, it used to be like, well, we have one that works, tweak a headline. This one works, tweak the text a little bit. Oh no, they want it like totally different and just, let it try and figure it out on its own. Since what they call the Andromeda update. And I'm not a Meta advertiser. I'm not a marketer. My specialty is websites, conversion rate optimization, and Shopify. But
you've got to know all this stuff too. It's not
yeah, you got to be familiar with it. And it's, most stores are going to be like a 70-30, 80-20 split for their online ads between Meta, Facebook and Instagram combined, and Google. And so it's like, that's the reality. You got to get used to it. And like, you'll hear the most about other ad networks, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Assuming you even get success on one of those, it'll never be more than 10% of that ad budget, relative to Facebook or Meta and Google.
I want to go into some of that generative AI talk again, because we talked about content, we talked about text, we talked about images a little bit, we talked about video to a degree, like product videos and stuff like that. What other places are people using generative AI that people not in the e-commerce space might not even realize, or people who just aren't using AI as much not even realize?
So, I mean, with e-commerce, like these catalogs, they get increasingly complicated and you have to add all these like custom fields into it. And then there's like the standard custom fields of, I've got title, price, photos, and a description. But now there's all this other stuff I got to generate. Alt text, describe all the photos, SEO title and meta description. All right, I need those. So now that's like 3 SEO pieces that everybody forgets about that I probably need. And then, to support the product detail page, because they want those longer, fancier Amazon style pages, there's a bunch of extra content that's got to go into that too. In every field I add and every product I add, like it really multiplies the amount of work that goes into data entry for populating a catalog. And so whatever I could generate, I need to. And so I've got like, I used AI to write Python scripts that connect to a Shopify store and just pull down a list. Hey, get me all the active products and then check them for these fields. If they're filled out, ignore them, assume someone did it right. And if they aren't filled out, let's then send that info to ChatGPT. Here's the context of the store. Here's the title of the product. Here's the description of the product. Write me an SEO title and description. Here's the photo. Here's the context. Generate alt text. Here's guidance on how to generate alt text. And then put that stuff back in. So like in the past, this stuff was a lot of effort and it wasn't going to it wouldn't be worth the effort necessarily to do it for the entire store by hand. And so either you'd like use an automated process that was just templated and gross, but maybe better than nothing. Or, really you just took like, okay, what's the top 20% of this catalog? And then you did it by hand for that. Whereas now with generative AI, it's like you just everything. You can have unique content, have all these fields filled out. And, for someone who knows what they're doing, it took them an hour. And so for like the really sophisticated operators, the table stakes for SEO, for this on-site machine-generated content, the bar has lifted. And then, the other thing we're fearful of, is down the road is like, hey, what happens if there's a universe where people just aren't using websites like they were? Like if I Google something, I get that AI overview answer. So potentially I don't ever actually click on any of the pages. And a lot of people will have seen this. Their organic traffic is just like tanking in the last year. And Perplexity, this wonderful search engine that has almost entirely replaced Google for me on my phone. There's Perplexity for everything. I never go to a website. It just spits back the answer. So what happens if now I'm using that for product recommendations and I could just buy the product in the app? Because ChatGPT supports this. Perplexity Pro supports this. The fear then is, okay, I have to optimize just for what they call
AI.
Generative something optimization, right? Generative.
Yeah, I've also heard AEO as well. But
yeah.
I don't think the industry really hasn't decided on a term yet.
We haven't figured it out yet.
But you're exactly right. And what's interesting to me about that is that I think that Google search results are pretty much worthless at this point. Like unless you are searching specifically for the thing, what you are going to get is, and I hate to say this, it's all the SEO optimized crap, right? Because all of our sites are so optimized now that the number one results are going to be the ones that are trying to get that click for AdSense or for whatever reason, right? It's never going to be an altruistic site that is coming up in those top 5 or top 10. So everyone moved to Reddit for a while, and I think they're still there, but then Reddit as well is getting tons of bots, and now that is suspect about whether it's real people or not. And so everyone's moving to AI. And what's interesting about the AI results is that they are fed by the same strategies that is like low-grade SEO that we've had from 10 years ago. It's not the super like algorithmic fixed SEO that like Google has been tuning. It's like, hey, there's 7 listicles about this cool site. We should go check out that. That's probably a top 10 site. So like the SEO strategies we were using 10 years ago are now the things that are coming up in AI, which is just mind blowing to me, first of all. And it's like, what happens now? Well,
that's the thing. We don't know. Now, at the same time, I used to get emails when Alexa came out. I think Alexa started to get popular, to show up in people's houses all the time. I started to get emails from bloggers and journalists being like, we're writing an article about voice search optimization. What are your tips for voice search? And there weren't any tips. And that never happened, right?
Yeah.
I could count on one hand the number of times I've ordered something with a smart speaker. Same with those like display touchscreens they sold. Like it just never happened. People kept shopping by, I pull out my phone, and then if it's a big purchase, I have to pull out my desktop.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Although I think that's on generational lines. I have heard and kind of seen Gen Z and forward, they do big purchases on their phone, which again is really weird for me.
But they're not doing, they're not asking Siri. They're not using voice. My kids are like, think that anything voice is cringe. And that's strange. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, fine. Yeah. I'm like,
that's not why
I'm trying to live in a sci-fi future, man.
I don't buy things on voice, but the reason I don't is because I don't trust it. Right? It's not that I wouldn't buy something. If I could just say, hey, buy me some batteries, and I would trust that it would buy me the correct batteries and send them to my house, but I don't. I don't trust they'll use the right credit card. I don't trust they'll send it to the right address because I have like 7 on Amazon. I don't trust they'll buy the right batteries. Right? Like and even if it is the right batteries, I don't trust that it's going to be from a reputable vendor, right? Like I think that's one of the problems that came up. And I think that's the problem that comes up with SEO as well, is the trust factor.
Yes, absolutely. For sure, we've been trained to tap on glass, and that's how we shop, tapping on glass. These AI engines, okay, It's still an app on a phone, so point in their favor. But then, does that modality change? Is that interface too different? Is it, you're shoehorning it in there. It's not like specific to shopping, or it doesn't scratch that itch in the same way. We're like scrolling through listings. This is the thing that people like and don't realize. The browsing is what they're into. The research might be what they're into. We don't know. I think only time will tell. I think it's smart to put some level of effort into hedging a bet on it. Like I think like just any SEO activity will probably benefit you in terms of these AI search engines. There's no risk there, no loss there to engage in SEO. And then structured data, just making sure you have as much data as possible, that you've got JSON structured data. It's like a format that, all Shopify themes now support out of the box from Shopify. It's one of the requirements. So like a theme in the last couple of years would be fine. But, just getting like those basics for on-site technical SEO, I think that gets you in a good position for this. But for sure, it's like something to have in the back of your mind, not something I would put a ton of money and effort into at the moment.
Yeah. Again, going back to kind of the bread and butter, I think SEO and those types of things are things you should do, you need to do. But it's an engine in the background that just keeps working. You're not going to spend a month working on this stuff unless you don't have anything. But you shouldn't like be spending lots of time on it, but you should spend a little bit of time just to make sure that it's working and running and it's good. But not a focus of your marketing. Because I agree, there's a bread and butter of it's going to get you into the AI. It's going to be good for Reddit. It's going to be good for all this stuff. But it's not going to move a needle like it used to. Absolutely.
And the Reddit thing's interesting. 3 weeks ago, Search Engine Journal reports, and we all kind of figured this out as marketers on our own, why Reddit is driving the conversation in AI search, user journey over short tail, meaning if you asked Perplexity a question, if you had ChatGPT search the web for a question, it would prioritize things it learned from Reddit because it was assuming that these are more natural, more weighty things. And so pretty soon you saw astroturfing on Reddit from other marketers who you just needed the brand mentions. They were just commenting, making posts, trying to get their brand mentioned so that it would in turn get recommended by these AI engines. And now, we saw Reddit stock slumped. Well, it's because of a report, I think it was from PromptWatch, where they found suddenly references to Reddit in these responses just dropped off a cliff. I mean, you could see it in the graph. It just sheer cliff. And so, will it work now? But if they're not using Reddit, then where are they getting a good result from? Well, now they're back to the SEO Google searches, right? Which harder to game, but you could still do it. It just takes longer.
But I think AI at this point has essentially their own limited version of Google search, right? They're crawling the web and getting all that information themselves. They just don't have as sophisticated an algorithm that's parsing it. So they're essentially leaning on the AI to rank all this content instead of having an algorithm to do it. And the AI is like a child, right? And it's like, oh, this is mentioned a lot, so that's good. And then, like you say, they have to go in and say, well, we're going to deprioritize Reddit. So they're essentially kind of building the Google search engine with this black box neural network thing that they don't really understand. And then they're just feeding in things and trying to rebuild that algorithm to a degree is what it seems to me. So
yes. And it's remarkable. It works as well as it does.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway. It's even, in spite of all of that, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
You ask it questions, you get reasonably good answers. Only part of the time are they completely fictional. I love when you correct it, and then it's always oh, you're so right.
Yeah. I had that this morning. I was working on this thing. I was like, just do a review of what I've written and make sure it's right. It's well, you really should do this, 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 and this. And I went through it and I said, I don't think any of that is true. And they're like, yep, you got me. I'm like, why'd you say it?
Yep. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Which one were you using?
I only use Claude now.
Me too.
I've moved 100% onto Claude I think it's better at writing. I think it's better at coding. I like their approach better. Thinking. I like their approach better. Everything about it, I like better.
For YouTube thumbnails, I will in Claude, like it'll have the transcript of an interview like this one, and it's got guidelines in a project for like, this is what we think a thumbnail should be. And I have it just generate 5 thumbnail concepts for me, like descriptions of it. And then I give that to, an image generator like Google's, like Nano Banana or ChatGPT. And it'll generate the concept, and then I pick the one I like, and then I go make it for real. A few times I've used like, the background is the AI version.
Right.
But that's where the stuff really excels, is ideation, figuring out very quick, like, if I were to like try and sit down and think up 5 concepts and then make them, and this would be like a half-day project versus, with an AI, I could do all this in less than an hour. It's huge time savings to be able to figure this stuff out. That's
been the main way I've been using it as well, where final copy, not really. Like it's still not there. It's not my voice, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of work to get it to that point. But for ideation, it's like, hey, what are like 12 ways to optimize this page? Like, just give me some ideas and then I'll start riffing on it. And like, it's like rubber ducking in development, right?
Rubber ducking.
Rubber ducking. So the idea of just talking to something that with a rubber duck, it doesn't respond, but this fortunately responds. It's just the idea of vocalizing it gives you the ideas and helps you come to the answers, and it's just so much nicer when it responds back as well.
No, 100%.
I do want to talk about kind of the dark side of this. So you had mentioned that you're seeing 10 times as many bots on e-commerce sites as humans at this point. And what are they doing?
I don't know.
Is it AI? Is it like fraud? Is it scammers? Like what? Why?
All right. So this is entirely my theory based just on experience. This is not fact. This is my theory. AI makes it easy to generate scripts. And so it is just the barrier to entry on, I want to make a web crawler, goes down. And then, there's all this money in AI. And so there's plenty of startups you've probably never heard of that are also trying to build LLMs and AIs. And so they're also crawling and scraping the web. And so we've got, all these new sources scraping the web. And then we also have, like the lay people doing it from their homes. And then on top of it, I think we have bad actors. We have malicious people, probably just fraudsters, doing it as well. And you see it. I mean, for sure, it's like everybody, like if you just look at a typical store, compare it to years past, traffic goes up with no readily obvious reason, and conversion goes down because these things aren't actually making purchases, of course. Right. I believe that, Shopify is working on a solution for like fraud, for bot filtering. I think a lot of these platforms are. In the case of Shopify and Google Analytics, they already have bot filtering built in, but it's like, man, we need more, right? It's getting tougher. One of the things I do when I'm looking at analytics is just, I'll set country. I'm in the US. I'll set country to US. I'm working with US clients and US stores, and I'll set that, and then I'll set device type, and I'll do all of them. I go desktop, mobile, tablet, because often a bot is not going to identify itself in that way, or is going to route from a different country. And so like between the two, I could just filter out a lot of bot traffic that way, and get like a less noise in my signal when looking at my analytics. But it's an annoyance for people for sure. Staring at this traffic, you get this big spike, and it's just like garbage. It's like midnight. Yeah. Suddenly you've got thousands of visits for 1 hour, and then they go away, and then it happens like nightly. Just weird stuff where people go, why? Like, just have to ignore it.
It's weird that it's even tracking it, because usually these types of bots and everything, they're not triggering JavaScript. They're not triggering all this stuff. They shouldn't even be visible at that data analytics level. I mean, unless you're going to like server level stuff. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's a frustrating thing, because at some point you're like, well, how many actual people are coming to my site? So what's my actual conversion rate? And what's my actual customer rate, especially if you're paying for ads and all this stuff, because we've seen bots clicking on ads. There's so many bots doing all the things that a normal human does at this point. It feels like it's impossible to filter it all out. Some days it just feels like we're losing to AI and bots on the internet, and that this was all a horrible mistake.
That like fits right into dead internet theory, where it's like the moment the internet is generating its own content, it devolves, because it's difficult to separate the two, and you can't train AI on AI generated content because it loses its mind. It devolves. And so that's dead internet theory, is like there's essentially before and after we have created, AI and unleashed it on the internet. And, the bots are just, a side effect of that, right?
Yeah.
In the Shopify stores, the thing we see a lot of the bots do is fraud. They are automating credit card testing. They've had to fix this at so many stores where it's always the same story. And people of Shopify stores are like going to recognize this one. It would have happened this summer. You get an order. It is for the lowest dollar item on your store. Whatever the cheapest thing is, there is an order for just that. And it'll probably be marked, like it might be marked high chance of fraud. It might not. And you process it, and then you get a chargeback. And then you get another order. This time it's a different credit card, only it's the same address and it's the same item. And it'll be like a $1 shipping protection charge. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense. And until you go and block that address or that IP or that or like whatever it is, it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
And it's because they're automating credit card testing, and they're doing it like they want to warm up the card if it does work. And so they start with these very cheap items. I mean, that's scary that we're seeing that at this level where I have fixed this in multiple stores, and anyone else in this space will recognize that story. Like I've seen it posted in Reddit. I've seen it in Facebook groups. It's wild. And it's bots.
We had a similar problem where we had set up our conversion events in Google Ads and Facebook wrong. So what we had done is we had set them up to trigger when someone clicks the purchase button, right? Because, okay, we have a second page and we have to do all this stuff. We're just like, it's really difficult to do that. Let's just trigger it when they submit the form. Well, if you trigger a conversion event when it submits the form, but before Stripe or Shopify or whoever has said, yep, that is a legit payment, you are training Google and Facebook that a failed credit card or a fraud credit card is a legit conversion. So what do Google and Facebook do? They send us a lot of fraud. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's since been fixed, but because we noticed it very quickly, but we were getting so much fraud because we had trained Google and Facebook to send us fraudsters just by making the conversion event one step too early in our checkout process.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Jeez. I've also, the inverse of that is at a conference last week, I encountered my first instance of someone who was engaged in what is potentially pixel fraud, where it's like, okay, you train it on data that you send back. Well, what if you could fake that data? What if you could only have the pixel fire or only have it send what you want them to see to try and get higher quality out of it potentially? Mm-hmm. I think was the goal, or to try, reduce costs in some way. It was above my head, but they had been this individual had been banned from, one advertising platform for doing this.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's like, okay, that's an aggressive level of marketing that I was not ready for.
Now I'm really curious how the technical side of it. I can imagine, okay, I'm only putting this pixel on these types of pages or for these types of people that are doing this thing. But does that really have enough oomph to it? I don't know.
Yeah, the juice worth the squeeze on this?
Right. Well, I mean,
and it was with it wasn't with Facebook. It was with AppLovin. This is one people get excited about. They just opened it. Previously, you had to be doing quite a lot of ad spend with Meta before they would let you advertise on this platform. Mm-hmm. What the platform is, there is a network of iOS apps, of iPhone games, and they have interstitial ads in the game. It's like, hey, you got to watch this 30-second ad, and then you could do play another round or whatever. And that's what they own. They own those ad placements. And so you could get a really captive audience where it's like, hey, you have to watch a 30-second ad if you want to keep playing this game. And so you end up it is highly engaged. And so people if you can get on the platform, because not everybody's eligible, it doesn't work for everybody. They're really into it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
But I can imagine direct to consumer, that would be amazing. That's like a gold mine right there.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have an offer that makes sense for it.
I just see the possibility of because you instantly know your target audience too, right? There are people that are playing Candy Crush and all those types of gotcha games.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There's an ad network for just that.
That's amazing. So, you had mentioned, is the juice worth the squeeze? It really, I think, depends on volume, because we were working, I won't name names because this was super shady. This was about 10 plus years ago when we were still doing the agency. And one of the guys we were working with was telling me, one of the guys that he works with, so we're like 3 things removed, but he had a stack of credit cards, and he would use those on Facebook, and he would create ads that just are against every guideline, are horrible. They would have, at the time Barack Obama was president, and they would have like Barack Obama pimping their solution, their product and stuff, just things you cannot do, right? But back in the time, they did not have, Facebook didn't have good pre-go live checks. The ad would go live, people would complain, and then the ad would get taken down. So he would put $10,000, $50,000 from each credit card on these ads. The ad account, the ad would go out to maybe 100,000 people. The ad gets banned. The account gets banned. He has another account with another credit card, and he'd go through this stack of credit cards, and the ads would only be live for like an hour at tops. But the amount of value and the amount of customers he was able to get from that made it worth it. So going back to the pixel thing, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? At scale, a lot of things are worth the squeeze, I think.
That one is zany.
It's you can't do that anymore. Like, it's not even possible. But yeah, it was a story. So talking about Barack Obama pimping like shoes and stuff, a lot of the AI user-generated content now is that kind of stuff, right? Have you looked at? So have you seen the AI user-generated content at this point?
Yeah, it always seems like a lot of nonsense.
It's a lot of nonsense, but there was a thing where they were taking people like Tom Hanks and celebrities and stuff and doing the same thing where the celebrity was doing user-generated content through AI to pimp the product.
I'm sure
as a video.
The celebrities were thrilled with this.
They were absolutely thrilled. Like, they were like, this is why I became a celebrity.
Yeah, Tom Hanks was like, finally, I don't have to work or get paid for this.
Right. Now I can fulfill my dream of promoting AG1. I'm sure AG1 was not the product that was doing that.
Yeah, I think they would. I hope they would know better.
Yeah, they would definitely know better. But I'm wondering, we were talking about authenticity, we were talking about trust, and user-generated content was always kind of the gold standard of trust for a product. And now I feel like that is being eroded to a degree. Do you see that same thing? Do people not care? Like, I assume that everything I'm looking at is AI. And I have seen this in like other people's comments to the point where there was one, somebody was like, no one wants this AI art. And they commented on a poster. I owned that poster that they were commenting on, and I had purchased it pre-pandemic. It's in my basement to this day. And so someone's wrong on the internet. I had to reply. And I was like, actually, I own that poster. It's not AI generated. That in that anecdote, that person's not alone and just like assuming everything is AI generated now. As someone who uses M dashes constantly in my writing for the last God knows how long, like, it's
now
rough.
I refuse. I used to use them. Chicago style of manual. Nope.
I put spaces between them. Yeah, I put spaces, or I do the double dash because I don't have auto EM dash turned on. But it's like, it's rough. Like, and there's people like that art style you were talking about. There are people whose art just, that's the style that AI was trained on. Yep. Like that. So that's what AI
really unlucky.
I met, I was working with this copywriter, and she was an old school corporate copywriter. She did like the copy that you would read in like a Sears Roebuck catalog or something like that. And she sent over some samples of her writing. I'm like, this is all AI. And then I realized these are from like 15 years ago. There was not like, but that is the writing style. And it's just, it has completely eroded trust in everything. And so I wonder what the next stage of that is. So now we can no longer trust the ads and the promotions and the recommendations. We can no longer trust if the traffic coming to our site is real or bots. Like it's a new challenge that we have to overcome. And the question is, how do we do that?
You can't trust it. What's funny is if you tell it, like with ChatGPT, you can set tone of voice. I'll say, no yapping, all lowercase. Those 4 magic words, it won't read or look like AI. Now, no matter what you do, telling it to not do M dashes, it's still going to do it. You'll have to remove those on your own. Like it's addicted. But like without, lowercase, short, AI's verbose. It's just like, it just generates too much versus the way a human writes. And then, the excessive punctuation that it loves. If you get rid of that stuff and make it look casual, it's extremely difficult to tell.
Do you find that, and because I think that, and this might be my prejudices towards it, not really prejudice. Anyways, this might be my, I wonder, is AI generated like descriptions of products, that catalog, do people care as long as it sounds natural enough? Or is it something like a sales page or a squeeze page where you really have to dial in that copy? You can't really use generic copy for some marketing things. But I'm wondering, in the e-commerce world, if it's catalog descriptions and it's like product names and stuff like that, is AI something that people are like, yep, that is a thing that we are doing? Does that make sense? Like,
in split testing, copywriting at all levels has at times been the most impactful change you can make on a website. And so I do believe if AI or not, if it doesn't land with the customer, it's going to hurt you. And those product descriptions, they're important. They are. And no one reads, they just scroll. Well, okay, they do both. They skim and they read. And so you have to, like, the thing that AI is not going to do unless you tell it, like, hey, output, give it a format, output is HTML, and copy paste that in, right? I think where people get tripped up is they just go, write me a product description. Well, garbage in, garbage out. If you didn't give it, you could have given it like, here's the descriptions on our best-selling products so that you can get the tone right. Here's our about page, so you've got context and background, and here's some copywriting examples we like. Now, and here's the product. Here's the points we want to hit, and write me this description 5 different ways. And then I pick the one I want. Okay, now give me that in 3 different tone of voice. Now, output is HTML, copy paste into my Shopify product description. Okay, like that's a big difference between, hey, write a product description. Or, in Shopify, you have the product description, and they even have like the tools built in now. On Mac OS, I can right click and the tools are built in. You just select all and be like, make this better, punch this up, right? Proofread it. You want a little more than that.
This ties back to something you were saying in the beginning, which was that sites that are very bare bones and you think, oh, it's focused, that they're not minimal. Doing as well. It's minimal, right?
Sophisticated.
And it's not that people aren't reading, they're just being selective about, like the thing that we've always learned is people don't read on the internet. And it's not that they don't read, it's that they're very selective in what they're reading, right? And so an alert is a great example. If an alert pops up, they're going to probably read the headline, but none of the body copy.
Save 15%.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a visual flow. I even see copywriting a lot as a visual flow on the internet instead of blocks of text. Like,
oh, you give me that wall of text, no matter how interesting it is, it's not happening.
Yeah. We had, back when I was working with Ramit Sethi, one of his sales pages, it was like Dream Job 2.0 or something like that. It was 80 pages. It's an 80-page sales letter.
He was known for those really long sales letters.
And they're good. And it's interesting though, because you watch the scroll map, right? So essentially the heat map of how far people scroll down, how long they're on each section of it. And it's high red, scrolls down, like people are reading less and less and less. And then people are scrolling pretty quick. And there was this image of this woman with blue hair. And it was a testimonial or something like that. And that point just gets bright red. Like, so it's fading down, it's almost black, and then bright red again. And then the whole thing starts over because he's stopped this scroll with something.
Oh, and it's
this wall of text is broken up. It's an attention map. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And so the attention map really different, slight variation on a scroll map in that it identifies your thumb stoppers. Scroll map's like on average how far we get, but the attention view, that heat scroll, that's really the much more useful one. And you're right. You find like, wow, this thing gets people's attention. And so then was the implementation like move that further up the page or,
move that further up the page, add some other ones like how do we...
more striking people?
Exactly. Well, how do you create and this is something I do whenever I'm doing optimization on pages, I do it in a stair-step fashion. It's like, okay, here's the first thing I want, and then we'll have supporting. If they haven't converted at the end of that, we have another big dome thing, and then we bring them down. And it's like, each section is supposed to reinvigorate, but you should never scroll so far that you lose interest and it becomes just text. And I think even with the best written copy, you can't hold someone's attention forever just through the copy.
Yeah, unless,
because at that point it's a book.
You're not writing Game of Thrones. This isn't Harry Potter.
Exactly.
You're not going to get them invested enough to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I think even like, let's say it was Game of Thrones, like I think in a website stance, in a website presentation, you're not going to continue on that.
No.
I don't know what the brain difference is, but I'm definitely not in a long form content reading method on the computer.
No, 100%. Because I have a distraction box in front of me, right? Like,
yeah,
it just serves up entertainment and distractions.
So what do you do? So I'm looking at, so we talked about the ways that we are seeing lots of bots, we're seeing all this content, we're seeing all this. How do you help people understand, and how do you even measure where good customers are coming from, good potential customers are coming from, and how they are converting? Because especially in e-com, it's never I'm on your site for the first time and I'm going to buy. Like there's a velocity to it. Very few people are buying on the first click anyways. So how do you help people understand where are real people coming from? Who are they? Like what does that look like? Not to throw the hard stuff. Let me just throw you a real hardball question, right?
No, it's a good question. It's like, okay, how do you get the real answer? I think the easy way out in e-commerce is on the thank you page. You do an order confirmation, post-purchase survey. How'd you hear about us? Right. And that post-purchase survey is gold because you have the person's attention with the brand is at its absolute highest directly after they make the purchase, especially for the first time. And so you could get their attention. You can get feedback from them on that thank you page. And in the email you send them directly after that, and just invite them like open-ended, like, hey, any questions, let us know. And you just want to get a dialogue open. And like the thank you page survey, you could consistently find out where people heard about you, not necessarily that it's true, where they think they did. And that's important, right? Because like all these tools, if they ever interacted with the person at all in the journey, are going to take credit for it. And so it's tough to know. It's like, well, okay, everything did contribute to this total thing, but what's the one that stood out for them as like, that's how I heard about this. And so I want to know that so I could double down on it. And then, if I can get that info, I also just want to do like a quick survey on people and, how they identify themselves, how they see themselves. Like, hey, how old are you? What's your gender? If you were to describe this product to someone else, what would you say? How would you describe it? To what kind of person would you recommend this? Though I think that survey data, it's qualitative, it's human, right? A person had to write that out. I think that's the only way you're going to get it build genuine customer avatars. Now, you may not have all that info, or you may not want to go through that. I think the other way is product reviews. You could get some of this info through product reviews. And even then, we see where it's like, okay, clearly you had ChatGPT help you with this product review. I don't know why, but like obviously it was. So you'll still get some of that in there. But I think that's the answer. That and like, man, you got to talk to these people. If you're picking up the phone, or if you have phone support and you're able to talk to people when they call, You find out some interesting things.
It's amazing how much of it still comes back to talk to your dang customers. Like as much technology as we have, as much as great tracking as we have, really talk to your customers is still the most valuable thing. It was interesting. So we do a lot of customer demos, and on all of our demos, we ask where they heard from us and blah, blah, and AI is going through the roof right now. But one guy said, "Oh, I heard about you from AI." And we opened up his path, and he had actually come to our site from Facebook many, many months ago. And then he had come in from Google, and then he had come in from, so he had been like once every month and a half or something like that, he had been checking out. But what finally pushed him over, and like you're saying, what was the thing that he remembered as how he found us was through AI. And that, I think that combination of what they think and any additional tracking you have is really valuable, because it shows the impact of the marketing versus just the data of the marketing.
Yes. Yeah, it's an important distinction.
I mean, you think about how many times you go on Google and you search for something and you're like, "Oh, I've never heard of this thing," but all the links are purple.
Oh,
and you're
it's like site you visit often. Like, you don't say.
Like, I didn't even realize that I knew this thing. So, Kurt, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. I think we dove a lot into AI, which is just the conversation recently, it feels like.
It's a hot topic, and it's a tool that we're using every day, or a tool you're not using it if you're just in a white collar job at this point. You're exposed to it whether you know it or not.
Yeah, constantly. Where can people find you, and where should they get in touch with you?
Sure, absolutely. Google me, Kurt Elster, and I'm active on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I got a newsletter at kurtelster.com. That's my real email address. Sign up for my newsletter, hit reply, and I am happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Kurt, thank you so much as always. It was a pleasure having you on again, and have a great rest of your day.
Keith, thank you so much.